So are you ready to defend your hearth and home? I'm standing in the ruins of what once was a very beautiful, I'm sure, farmhouse. I'll show you the top half of the farmhouse. This is the most intact part that has survived. That's the second story there. I'm standing in what probably would have been the first story, and I'm backed up against a two-story fireplace. You can see fireplace up there and fireplace down here. I'm guessing this house was probably built, maybe the foundation, the original foundation may have been early 1800s. Judging by some of the roofing material, things have been added to. There's tin roof on this, so it's probably the late 1800s, probably into the 1900s, at least that they did some renovation. I also know that just down the path over there, you can't really see it through the trees, but there's a even older log cabin that's still in much better shape. And that may actually go back into the 1700s, because I also know a little bit about the history of this area and the folks that settled this area. And I know that there are some graveyards around here in the woods that are unmarked. The bones of the folks that may have even built this hearth may be just a few feet away from me. And this is a kind of a sacred place. It's just a mile or two through the woods from my own home. And every time I come by this, I get very reflective and thinking, wow, what did that home look like? And was it a happy home? Was evidently a productive home, a very productive farmland around here. And I always wonder what happened. You know, it looks like maybe a storm might have blown over the top part of the house. And why did the family leave? You know, why didn't they build another house here? Was it hard economic times? Was it the Great Depression? You know, some of the roofing material here, I think the latest material down here is probably 1930s or 1940s. Why am I sharing all this? Well, as I reflected the other day, I shared a little video. Just want to recap. There's been some things going on in the news. Not that everyone watches the news necessarily, but you know, we're starting to hear things surrounding that word terrorism. Again, I'm trying to be very careful what I say on this channel because I don't want videos getting flagged or put down. I want to get the message out. But even an incident connected with that word, a suspect was apprehended just about 100 miles away from where I'm at right now. And I personally know the law enforcement that helped to arrest that suspect, and some of the details have been shared with me personally. Some things that may not be in the news, and I got to be careful sharing even right here. But you know, really brings into perspective that you know, just because something's going on the other side of the world, just because one city in another country is burning and people are dying, doesn't mean that we're untouched here or that we don't have connections to it. You know, as I stand in the ruins of this house, I think of the folks that lived in this house, that built this house. You know, were they very well could have been involved in the Civil War. You know, their ancestors, I'm pretty sure, based on the history of this place, were also involved in the Revolutionary War. I know that there's the bones of a few Revolutionary War patriots buried within just a few miles of where I'm standing right now. And again, do we think about that? I do more and more every day as we move into this year. What did they fight for? What did they die for? What did they build for? You know, in their day and age, they had their own interpretation of what was going on. their own reason for going to battle or not. And I'm sure that interpretations of Revelation also played a part in how they were involved. You know, you've heard the battle hymn of the Republic that was written during the Civil War. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Straight out of Revelation, right? Incredible song. And they thought it was the time of judgment. And there's a lot of people right now thinking we are walking into the time of judgment, and as we're 160 years removed. And doesn't mean that those folks are wrong. It doesn't mean that those folks 160 years ago were wrong for their motives in doing what they did, because what they did helped to preserve freedom and pass it on to future generations. And that's you, and that's me. Do you value that? I want to give just some thoughts moving forward. Every time I film one of these videos, it's as if it might be my last connection with the outside world. You know, the grid could go down. When I say grid, I'm talking about the electrical grid. The internet could go down. All these platforms being ultra censored, and information that is needed is not accessible to the individual. And what would I want my family, my friends, loved ones, and my fellow countrymen to know and to think about before something like that were to happen? Are you ready to defend your hearth and your home? And that's where it needs to begin. You know, I'm not a historian necessarily. I have read a lot and studied a lot. And as I see cycles and patterns in history, there's definitely an escalation here in the last century. But even there, we've got to be careful that our pride does not blind us to think that we're somehow more special than the people 100 years ago, that we're somehow smarter than the people 100 years ago. I mean, look at this. Could you build that? Could you? Could you build a chimney that will stand up for over 100 years? Now, you can learn, right? But don't just assume because someone is dead and in the ground that they're dumber than you. And unfortunately, that idea seems to pervade our Western postmodern thought. This progressive ideology that, we're better and smarter and we don't need those things. And this will be another video. If that grid does to go down, you're going to need a hearth. You're going to need somewhere to keep your house warm and cook your food. That's what took place right here. Keeping their family warm and cooking their food. This was vital to the survival of their house. Could you do it? It's time to get ready now. And even if things turn around in November, like I addressed in another video, the effort that you put in to being more self-reliant and prepared will continue to pay off. You will learn new skills. You will become stronger physically and mentally. You won't be as dependent on the system, because that's what they want. if what continues to happen happens, if society collapses, we're going to be reverting back to pre-Revolutionary War days. Now, hear me out on this. If you've ever studied the French and Indian War, as it was officially called, where the colonists and the British, Empire and the French and the Native Americans were vying over territory and land. That's what's going to start happening again. You're going to have some imperialists moving around with their troops. You're going to have homesteaders. You're going to have, I want to be very politically correct here. You're going to have people acting wild and untamed and not valuing life at all. And they will be monsters. They will be slitting people's throats and taking scalps, maybe literally. Just look at Haiti. You don't think this exists in a postmodern society? Well, guess what? It's right around the corner. And we've got to go back to thinking in those ways. Being prepared to defend hearth and home. Now, I think it's good to have connection with other homesteaders in your area and to have a plan to defend a larger community. That is essentially what that word, I'm going to spell it. Again, this is the big buzzword, MILITIA. That's essentially what that was originally for, was a group of folks defending themselves against oppressors and tyranny and vagabonds and those coming in to cause ruin and cause havoc. And that's going to be essential, but it starts with you individually being strong enough to protect and defend your hearth and your home. Time's running out. Now, I'm not trying to be a doomsday prophet necessarily, and I am trying to be as hopeful as possible. But regardless of what happens, I will not be dependent upon the system. Regardless of what happens, I will continue to grow stronger, to grow more fit, to grow more lean and mean and loving and caring. I will be what my forefathers were before me, and I will step into their shoes, and I will be worthy to wear them. Will you? I actually started filming some of these videos many years ago in other venues, and one of the first videos that I started was right when COVID hit. And I was literally right there on the ground, and I called it Cornerstone. And I want to end with a quote from a founding father, Patrick Henry. If I can remember it exactly, you can fact check me on this if you would like, but he says, this republic was built on the cornerstone of Jesus Christ. And to have a hearth and a home that's going to last, and a nation that's going to last, it has to have a strong and firm cornerstone by which all other corners are measured, and something that is rock solid and stable and level. You know, all this talking that I'm doing, whether you're listening or not, is pointless unless you have the cornerstone established. You can't build on nothing. And if we're truly honest with ourselves, we're nothing. In our own strength, in our own desires, we're lazy. We are ill-equipped. We don't have the wisdom that we need. We need a strong foundation. We need that forward focus and direction and guidance. We need wisdom to be able to see and to plan. And that is how Jesus Christ revealed himself to be in his word. And I just want to challenge you in this video closing. If you are ready to defend your hearth and home, make sure your hearth and home are built on the cornerstone of Jesus Christ. Feel free to email me if you want to know more. Read your Bible. Read the Gospel of John. That's a great place to start. Think about this.